Let's cut straight to the point. This is one of the most underrated ways that you could eat pork. Today we're talking all about pork steaks. These are cut from the Boston butt and they come in right at $3.79 a pound. I think that price point is amazing and the outcome is just really so delicious. You don't feel like you're eating an inexpensive piece of meat. If you want to go even less expensive, you can get the bone in, and that's going to run you $2.79 per pound. Today, we're going to keep it extremely simple. I'm going to hit all of these with Southern hospitality right over top. We are going for a sweet barbecue flavor today. Now that we have our pork steaks seasoned up, we're gonna let these sweat in for around 15 or so minutes while we get the grill ready, and then we'll put these on. Today we're using our Gateway drum to make our pork steaks. I have half of a basket of lump charcoal here, and I have two B&B fire starters. The only thing I'm gonna do today is I'm going to light those up, and then I'm gonna get this dialed in right at 300 degrees. And if you're curious why we're using a lump over briquettes today, it's because they get a little bit hotter a little bit quicker, and I really am looking to get that nice fat rendered with these pork steaks. So the great thing about these is that fat just adds a nice layer of texture and flavor. And also, of course, we're using the drum because we love the fat drippings hitting those coals and creating that beautiful flavor. Once the drum hits right around 250 degrees, I'm ready to throw some chunks of wood in there. Today we're using cherry. I've just been messing around with it when it comes to pork. The reason I want to put the wood on there right now is because this is still going to continue to climb for a little bit, and I'm also going to put the pork steaks on because I want them to get some of that smoke flavor. They don't take too long to cook, so I just want to make sure as they're cooking, as the temperature is coming up, it is getting some of that smoke flavor in there. Now, the other thing that I have told you guys before, but I do want to make sure to remind you, is that I always light one side of my charcoal basket, and it's always going to be closest to the vents on the outside of the drum. I feel like it's a lot easier to maintain the temperatures exactly the way I want them when I set it up like this. Another thing to keep in mind while we're cooking these pork steaks is there's a lot of fat running through these. Some of that fat is a little bit harder than the rest of it. And so right here you can see that it's already kind of coming apart because there's that soft fat in there. That is completely okay. We just want to render down all of this thicker white fat that's in there. If it doesn't look perfectly like a steak, that's okay. We're going to eat this anyways. Another thing to keep in mind is that while I'm cooking these pork steaks, I have the top bent directly over the pork steaks. So the reason I want to do that is because with these pork steaks, if it gets too hot where I have the coals, I can always rotate the grate and just take it to the complete other side. Now, if you have a large brisket or a large piece of meat that covers pretty much the whole grate, you don't necessarily have that advantage, but today I was able to use only half of my grate, and that's where I like to use the two zones when I'm using my drum. It's been around 20 minutes on our pork steaks, and now it's time to check them and flip them. I like to flip these consistently because they're pretty thin, and I do want to make sure that I get that nice smoke flavor and that nice color on both sides. Nice looking color already. You can see that everything tightens up pretty good, and oh my gosh, the backside looks really, really good. I'm really loving that nice dark color. Man, it smells amazing. But you can see that everything tightens up pretty good here. So I talked a little bit earlier about that loose fat, but once you start cooking this, everything tightens up and it really starts to come together and looks more like a steak. And if you look really closely, you can see that fat kind of bubbling right there, and it's turning yellow. You do not want the fat to remain white. That means that it's not rendering at all. So you see nice yellow fat. It looks really good, and I can promise you these are just about done. They don't take very long at all. We are going to add some sauce, and then we'll try them out. It's been another 15 minutes or so, and today we're going to hit these with a little bit of that Stubbs Sticky Sweet. We've really been liking this sauce lately. Doesn't have to be too much sauce at all. We're just going to go ahead and paint this in, let it go for around 2 to 3 minutes, and then flip it over and get the other side. That fire is absolutely roaring down there, so typically when you're using drums, you don't want to keep it open as long as I have this one open, but I mean, I'm trying to shoot a YouTube video today. After around 45 minutes, our pork steaks are completely done. If this looked extremely simple, that's because it truly was. I cooked them to around 155 degrees, and all I did was flip them consistently, making sure I got the color exactly the way I wanted. At that point, I started saucing them up with a sweet barbecue sauce and pulled them at 165 degrees internal. I don't want anything to pull apart here. I want it to be a nice steak texture. I mean, they are called pork steaks, right? So now it's time to cut in and take a look and see exactly how this tastes. So a few things I'm looking for is to be a nice bite, and I want that fat to be nice and rendered and add some texture and flavor to these pork steaks. We're gonna take a nice slice right out of the middle. And here you can see that the pork steak was cooked so perfectly. A small little tiny smoke ring, but don't forget we only cooked this for 45 minutes and it just looks so stinking juicy. Of course, my favorite time of every single video, now we get to take a bite. Everything I said that I wanted, absolutely nailed it. That fat is just so perfect. It is super tender, super juicy. Don't pull these any later than 165 degrees. They're gonna be perfect every single time. If you guys have tried these and you've cooked them a different way than we did today, let me know in the comments below what's the best way to cook them. As always, we really appreciate you guys tuning into this video. Thanks, and we'll see you on the next one.